Say, hey, everybody, welcome to the Smart Pizza Marketing Live with my guest co-host for today's show on this Monday, Chris Hill. Chris, what's going on, man?
Not much, buddy. It's good to be here, man. Working hard. How are things up there in the Northeast?
A little bit chilly today, but other than that, it's pretty good. The leaves are coming on the tree, so, we're getting in there.
It was kind of chilly here too, man. Like 60s instead of, 70s or 80s.
Yeah, I'd take 60s right about now. That'd be good for me. Where are you in Atlanta?
Do what?
You in Atlanta?
Yeah, Atlanta. Last Monday I was traveling up to Virginia for a few things, but I'm here at the house. Got a good connection this time.
Yeah, Chris tried to join us last week, but everybody that comes to the show knows that the internet connection can be a little bit sketchy when it comes to Blab. Blab's obviously still in beta. This is still a test mode. It usually goes pretty good, but there can be times when it goes horribly wrong.
Yeah,
as everybody knows. So, Chris, give a little background. How did you get started in the restaurant business? Just give us how you got started and you go from there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, honestly, I kind of fell into it. I was in high school, and my dad said, "Hey, if you want to be able to go out, take your girlfriend out for dinner, or if you want to be able to go out with your friends on the weekends, you need to be able to pay for it. So you need to get a job somehow." And for me, I am glad that I didn't settle for just some sort of BS corporate job, but I really found something that I thought would be fun and I could actually learn some things. So yeah, my first job was Atlanta Fish Market in Atlanta, and I kind of through college in my early years kind of bounced in and out, and then finally I said, I really want to do this with my life, and made the full-time switch at 26 or 27, I guess it was.
And when did you become Chris Hill that has 90,000 Facebook fans?
Oh man, it's been an evolution, over the last, I guess when I would, the Chris Hill, that's the chef Chris Hill on Facebook with 90,000 followers or whatever. That's been the last 5 years, I guess. I'm 34 now. So, probably I went into restaurants full time at 26, 27. And then, I was in charge of turning one of my cousin's restaurants around. And then, so it really was kind of hit the ground running. Like, hey, nobody really trained me how to make kitchens work. I just kind of knew how they were supposed to work, and you really just learned along the way. And so, yeah, I'd say probably about the last 4 or 5 years I've been building my brand and being able to kind of understand what makes things work in the kitchen and restaurants in general.
And so when you say building your brand, what do you mean by that? Like, how can the average guy who owns a restaurant or a pizza shop, because I think building your brand is important, not necessarily the brand of your restaurant, but the brand of yourself is important. And many people forget that. They kind of build the brand of their restaurant or their name of their restaurant, but they don't necessarily build the brand of themselves who built the restaurant and can really get out there and spread the word.
Yeah, I mean, I could have easily just built the brand for my restaurant that I opened in Virginia about 6 years ago. But about a year ago, I kind of broke off to do my own thing. And if I would have only built the brand for the restaurant, then I'd kind of be, out of luck, so to speak. I would have to kind of start building whatever I wanted to build next. Versus if you kind of invest the time, obviously you want to invest in like your company's brand as well, but at the end of the day, like you're the only one that's going to be around tomorrow, the next day, and the next day, as long as you know. So I'd say really start kind of trying to build that relevancy around who you are through your cooking, through your food, in your community. There's so many, especially free ways to do that. Whether it's, I know you talk a lot about like building an email list, using things like Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. I mean, these are all, for the most part, unless you have 3,000 people on your email list, they're all free tools that we can use, and all it takes is just a little bit of time. Versus back before, if you wanted to reach more people or build your brand, you had to spend a couple $1,000s a month.
Yeah. And most people too, when they think about building their brand, they think about building their brand locally. So you build your brand when it comes to your local market, but that's good for your local business. But when it comes to the brand of you, it's really a larger market out there that you can brand to with and network with. Networking is a far undervalued aspect of building a local business, getting out there. And the Pizza Expo is a good example. And many of the guys who are watching this now or will listen to this in the future do go to the Pizza Expo, and they get really excited when they come back because they get all kinds of good ideas and have, you know, they're almost like they're refreshed. Like you go out there, you network, you feel like you can meet new people, and you know, you're not all alone, the only person behind the counter doing it yourself or in the kitchen cooking all by yourself, even though you think everyone else is out to get you.
See that like there's other people that are dealing with the same issues and trying to figure out the same things that you are.
Yeah. HC Advertising says, yes, local services, tough marketing tool on things like Twitter because of that, I think. So I don't know if that kind of threw me off there for a second. Yeah. So what was the process for you to get started building your brand? You know, all right. So you said, hey, I need to build my brand. I need to get known out there in the community of restaurateurs and in the industry. What was your way of doing that?
Yeah. So, you know, I think I kind of have like a foothold, probably a little bit more so than most people, but at the same time, like it's just knowing that was kind of the first step. You know, I went to college and got a master's in marketing, so I understand like the marketing side of things. I knew that when I moved up to Virginia from Atlanta, where I was going to be working with my cousin, I knew that what I was doing there was going to really be for him and not for me. But if I could somehow leverage the experiences that I was getting in a way that I could then use it for my benefit, then it was like, okay, well, that actually makes sense, you know? So like everything we do, you know, whether we have our own company or whether we're working for somebody else, there's an opportunity to learn more about kind of what we're doing and share that with the world. So, you know, for me, I just took my experiences and said, all right, this is what I'm starting to learn, you know, how to make food, how to plate dishes, how to connect with other, you know, chefs and restaurant people out there, you know, on LinkedIn or Facebook, or, you know, Chef's Roll is another good one. So really just kind of, I knew that if I wanted to be more than just a consultant, so to speak, for my cousin, I knew that I would have to build some relevancy around who I was. And at the time, nobody knew who I was. I had been, you know, just in corporate America, so I didn't really have that name in the chef world. So if you don't, then you have to, you know, figure out, well, how can I start to create that? So for me, that was through my food, through social media, and then, you know, through some of my writing as well.
What was the first thing that you started to do when it comes to getting your name out there?
Yeah, I think for me, it was writing. I knew kind of, I think the only reason why it was writing versus, you know, publishing recipes was because I knew writing really well. I had studied it in college. I had been writing for, you know, since I was a kid, enjoyed, you know, telling stories and writing about things I knew about. So for me, I knew about the restaurant industry, and that kind of made sense. But then shortly after that, in 2010, I guess it was, I started my first website, Bachelor Kitchen, which I shared, you know, recipes every single day. And then from all those recipes, I created a 120 recipe ebook, which, you know, that's a great way for me now to get subscribers onto my email list by offering that. So, you know, I really feel like everything we do kind of leads us to the next step. For me, that was, you know, writing into then, you know, once I had a better understanding of food and cooking and recipes and how recipes worked and how I might be able to connect with people, then I, you know, started doing the recipes. And then from there, I again kind of made a pivot and said, well, maybe there's too many recipes out here. Maybe I can connect with people better if I actually try and speak to what some of the issues and challenges are in like the chef world, which is kind of where I am now.
Right. And what do you do now for I know you have the book that just came out, or is it coming out?
Yeah, it's actually, let's see, today's Monday, coming out next Tuesday, the 24th.
All right. Drop a link in there so everybody can kind of go check that out if you want. But what do you do now? So do you own a restaurant now, or do you just do consulting, or do you do courses, or what do you do now?
Yeah, so I'm really just, I moved back home to Atlanta to open up a restaurant. And as you and I talked about previously, my brother, his wife got pregnant. So we said, you know what, let's put that on hold for now. So restaurant number 2 was supposed to be open last fall. And then we said, you know what, let's just hold off. So since then, I've been doing some consulting work. I've been, you know, writing, really just, again, building my brand. You know, I've gone from, you know, 15 or 20,000 Facebook followers to, you know, over 94, 95,000 now. Really just using the opportunity to connect with people. And which, you know, again, allows me also to, you know, hopefully, you know, monetize, you know, on the back end with the book and things like that. But it all
Right.
kind of starts with providing value for people.
One thing I didn't ask you that we talked about on the podcast is, do you do any Facebook ads for your Facebook page, or is it all just organic growth?
It's pretty much all organic. Actually, it's funny because I actually yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, I started doing some Facebook ads for the book. And about probably 4 years ago, I did some Facebook ads.
Yeah.
But all the really hardcore growth has really just been through word of mouth, through organic people sharing memes, quotes, articles, things like that.
Do you look at your insights and see what's working best and then kind of go deep into that? Or do you just do you have a specific time that you post that you find is working well? Or do you just kind of like, you know what, when I'm in the mood to post something or I have something to say, that's kind of when I post?
Well, I mean, a little bit of all that, I think. I definitely try and, I'm like you here on the East Coast. So I try and use the East Coast hours as kind of like a template. But then on Friday or Saturday night, when it's 12 o'clock, like a.m., like it's midnight for us, it's 9 p.m. on the West Coast. So some of those cooks and chefs and restaurant people are maybe like closing down the kitchen. So maybe it's a good time to post as well.
Right. And it's even lunchtime for the people in the Philippines. So you got to think of that too.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean,
because the reason I say that is because my wife's a real estate agent, and I'm trying to teach her this social media stuff and how to post on her post. And she gets so excited that like, she's like, oh, I took this great picture today. I was at this house, and she's like, I'm just going to post it. And it's like 2:35. And I'm like, no. Why don't you wait like till 8 o'clock tonight, when I know that you want to be organic about it and you want to be, natural, but there's got to be a little bit of strategy behind when you post and what you do. Otherwise, you're not going to get that following that you want, and then you're going to feel like it's not working, and then you're going to quit doing it.
It's like, why only 3 people like this post? I know it's good. And because I think the tendency, at least for me too, is like when I have something really good, like I just finished up an article, and like you're writing an article or a recipe or whatever, and it takes you a little bit longer than you thought, and so it's like past like what you think would be the perfect time, but you're like, screw it, I'll just go ahead and post anyway. And at that point you're like, well, maybe I should wait, but you really want to share this thing. And
totally.
So for me now, I kind of feel like it works out, but I definitely do now. I'm a lot more cognizant of whether it's a recipe for anybody out there, or for an article, if you write like a blog, or even if you're like sharing pictures of your pizza or food or whatever. Like, I think it's important to know, like, understand like the copy that's going into what you're writing. The title, make sure like it looks really good. And think about those things, like, are really make things shareable. And it's if it's a crappy picture, or if your title is not very compelling, then people aren't going to click through.
I always tell people who ask me, I say, you have to write, if you're going to write a headline for Twitter or for Facebook or Instagram, write 10 different titles, because this is just something that happens to your brain after you get to like number 5 or 6. It starts to, the marketing part of your brain starts to turn on, and then 7, 8, 9 is usually your best ones. But if you just do 1 or 2, it's like, you know what, that's not going to get a really good click-through rate. And it's really about getting them to click the button.
And I feel like if you make yourself do 10, like you said, then maybe you'll use 3 or 4, like number 3 or 4, but then you have 8, 9, and 10 where you're making yourself think about other things, and then you might actually think of another idea that for something else.
Right. Yeah, totally. And even when you do your Facebook post, you should spend, and I know this is going to sound crazy, people are going to look at me like I'm crazy, but you should spend 10 or 15 minutes writing the post before you hit send. You shouldn't just take a picture of your pizza, describe it in 3 seconds, and then hit post. Like, really take 10 or 15 minutes, because you only want to post 5, 6 times a week. And, that 10 minutes you take to really write the good description or a good catchy phrase for that post is really going to make the difference of how many people see that, especially on Facebook, where it's so hard to get attention anyway.
Yeah. I think people with pizza shops have a great opportunity. Who doesn't like pizza, right? And
I know,
playing to whatever niche yours might be, but it's kind of the whole idea of like, people love brunch, and you see that like brunch are shared like crazy on Facebook because just people love it. And I think pizza kind of has the same idea. So if you can take really good looking photos of your food and make it sound really enticing and like something people want to eat, then you're one step ahead, and then people, end up sharing it for you.
Totally agree. So let's get into your book. So your book is called, what's the name of it?
Making the Cut.
Making the Cut. What is it about?
About a year ago, I guess it was, I had this idea for a book that really, I felt like, I wrote an article that went viral back in October of 2014, and I got, probably a couple thousand emails from people saying, hey, like, thank you so much for writing this. But at the same time, it was people asking questions, asking for help, really not feeling like they were successful. Like the restaurant industry, as as we all probably know, watching this, is super challenging. The margins are low. If you're starting out as a cook or as a chef, you're not going to be making very much money. You're not going to be around your family, your kids a lot. So there's all sorts of challenges that I kept hearing about. So I said, well, how can I maybe be of bigger service to the community that I've now kind of built? So I started interviewing some celebrity.
What was the name of that article before you what was it? Do you remember the name of that article you wrote?
Chefs. And it was kind of
again?
Dear Chefs.
Dear. Sorry, I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna drop that link.
Writing a letter to somebody, Dear Chefs, and it's kind of really what put me on the map. I mean, it was what when I went from 5,000 Facebook followers to probably 10 almost overnight. I went from I was posting things on Medium once a week, getting 50 or 100 views, to where that one at its prime got 90,000 views a day.
When you wrote that article, did you post it on Medium or did you on your blog?
I posted it on Medium, and I back then I wish I would have known differently, but for me it was kind of like, oh, I just like to write, so I'll put it on Medium.
Right.
I didn't think about trying to get people to come to my Facebook page or my Twitter page, or more importantly, as you'd probably say, I didn't even think about till probably half of the life cycle of that article, until probably halfway through the life cycle of it, that I think, oh man, my emails are and
you know what though? I think looking back on it, if I was to say to you, knowing you now, you did it exactly the right way, because Medium had the audience at the time and you didn't. So you posted your article on Medium, which got them to go to your blog, and then from there you got to write on your blog because you gained an audience from that article that was so good that you wrote on Medium. So that's really how you wanted to do it then. Nowadays it'd be different. You want to write on your blog, but maybe back then.
You're exactly right. I mean, I was there. I was like, well, I have a blog, but nobody knows about it, or not as many people know about it. Yeah. Versus, wow, if I post on Medium, there's already millions of people here. If I can just figure out a way to reach them, then okay, cool. So that's kind of what happened. Right. And I was able to reach a lot of people, and it was. So I heard all these people complaining, stressed out, not feeling successful. So I started interviewing some celebrity chefs, some Dominique Crenn, the first female chef to have 2 Michelin stars. She got named the best female chef in the world last week. Fabio Viviani from Top Chef. Gavin, the Bocuse d'Or competitor for the U.S. a couple years ago. Some really talented chefs who've done some great things. And I really just interviewed them, looking for kind of the common threads of what makes them successful. And most of the conversations didn't really even talk about food much. It was mostly building relationships and being able to have a vision for what you want your career to be, and being generous with who you are along the way. Not necessarily once you kind of get there. So it's been an awesome experience. Yeah. And really myself, I've learned a ton from all these folks that are obviously a lot more successful than I'll probably ever be.
Did you know any of them before you interviewed them, or was it kind of like cold email? And you have like a bucket list of people you wanted to interview and say, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to make a bucket list, and if they go on, they want to talk to me, great. If they don't, you know what?
I didn't know any of them, which was cool. A couple of them I was friends with on Facebook. Sometimes you see somebody like a suggestion or whatever. So I kind of had the warm lead that way, but I hadn't really met, I guess, anybody. And for somebody like Fabio Viviani, who he's got, I think, 10 restaurants now. He does TV everywhere. He was the Top Chef, hot shot guy. So to connect with him, I actually emailed. I don't know if you know who Lewis Howes is.
I do.
Helped Lewis with his book,
School of Greatness.
Exactly. heard his interview with Fabio. I don't know if you ever heard it, but it's a great interview. Lewis interview.
I haven't. I should go check that out.
Maybe last summer, I guess it was. It was very cool interview. Yep. So that kind of got my wheels spinning to, well, maybe I can reach out to Lewis. And Lewis actually emailed and linked us up together. So again, I think it's kind of building your brand kind of also helps you to be able to network a little bit easier than would be otherwise. Definitely helped to do that. And then by the time I was started to write the book, I had maybe 45,000 or 50,000 Facebook followers. So I also kind of, it wasn't like, oh, here's this guy, Chris Hill, who lives in Atlanta that has, 500 Facebook likes, but he actually has a substantial amount of people paying attention to what he's doing.
Yeah, that's social proof's a huge thing to do. You either have social proof, luck, or have an introduction from somebody.
I think it all helps. I think you kind of find that like anybody that is successful, like especially, all these people I've talked to, they all, I think, have been lucky in a lot of ways. And the kind of harder you work, like the more you put yourself in those situations, the luckier you can be.
Yeah. What was like the number one takeaway from talking to all those chefs, and who was the one that you were like, you maybe were the most surprised about the interview? Maybe you were like, yeah, maybe you had low expectations going into that interview and it ended up being awesome.
Probably my favorite, the most fun would have been with Fabio Viviani, just because of his backstory. He grew up in Florence, Italy. When he was 6 years old, he had scoliosis, had like a big brace around his body because he slept on like a recliner chair. His family, including his grandparents, lived in a 300 square foot bedroom, a 300 square foot apartment in Florence. There were food stamps, and when he was 11, his mom got sick, and he had to kind of go to work for his family. So he, being a young kid, he couldn't work normal hours like during the day. So he worked at this bakery and worked from, it was like 11 o'clock at night to like 7 o'clock in the morning. Then went to school, and anyway, became a partner with the same restaurant group 7 years later when he was 18. And when he was 27, it was when he decided to move over to the U.S. At that point, he was a partner in 5 restaurants and 2 nightclubs. And he was like, all right, cool, I'm just going to sell all this, move over to the United States, have a little vacation, because he's been working his ass off. Well, he ended up everything, but at the same time, his dad got in some legal trouble and had to use pretty much all of the proceeds for his restaurants to go towards that. So he moves over to the United States, starts over, knows no English, his way back up. And
how did he work his way? How did he work his way
really
back
just
up?
kind of
just got a job in a
kitchen over in LA, and he was a good cook because I guess he was a sous chef at 16 and kind of what he was doing, but got an opportunity there, but still didn't speak any English, and actually ended up working a wedding for the producers for Top Chef. And this was like season 1 of Top Chef, and they kept asking him season 1 through 4 to do it. And then finally season 5, he said, okay, I'll do it. At that point, he could speak English. He opened his own restaurant by then. But I think it just kind of shows like the kind of big aha at the end of our conversation was like, so what's your excuse? Kind of build it back up. He had to learn English. And so that was probably the most powerful, I think, is seeing this guy who came from nothing, built it up, lost it all, had to start over in a country where he didn't speak the language. And it wasn't always easy. It was hard. In those days, he wanted to give up and quit, but he was able to kind of stick with it. And as a result, done some really cool things. And now it all kind of comes full circle, and he's able to help a lot of people. And the most kind of common thread through all the conversations was, it's not about the food, it's not about the restaurants, really, it's about the people. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what it's all about and kind of what makes it worth it.
Yeah. Was there anybody that you interviewed that was like, that wasn't so good, or that you didn't put in the book? No, you don't have to say their name, but you can just say yes or no. I don't want you. You don't have to call them out here.
A couple people that I was just looking. I wanted compelling stories, and it was. I don't know if you know who Brandon Stanton is of Humans of New York, but I've heard him talk before. And sometimes he'll take pictures of people, and he'll talk to people. And they'll have like kind of like a canned answer for what they think he wants to hear. And that's kind of how it was with me. I wanted to, I reached out to everybody, but they also kind of knew what I was looking for and what I was going after for the project. I think certain people kind of realized that and tried to kind of make their story a little bit more compelling than it was. And I'm just looking for an authentic, genuine person to have a conversation with.
Yeah, not every story has to be unbelievable. You could have a very normal story of a normal, working your way through college or through the ranks of a restaurant. It doesn't have to be so like Fabio's.
And that's kind of how like I was kind of leery of this at first, but I think it worked really well. I actually ended up using my story to kind of be that normal person's story kind of throughout. Like, hey, here's a guy that's just trying to figure it out, just like you reading this. So
it's hard to do interviews too, especially when you record them. Like, I'm not an interviewer, that's not what I do. That's not what I did for a living. Like, it's like, you try to be almost somebody you're not. And I just want it to be something casual. And sometimes I feel like the other person on the line's so nervous and they think they don't know what they're going to say. It's just like, just be yourself. Just pretend like there's just you and I talking, even though there's thousands of people listening later. But for now, just have it be a casual conversation, because the more you look at it as just us talking, the better the conversation.
The thing too, I think is I'm sure I'd be curious to see what your thoughts are on this. But like, most of the conversations I had, like, these are people that are really successful, but they aren't necessarily used to being interviewed every day. So like, they're not, the conversations which will be available, actually I think tomorrow or the next day, even though they're good conversations, I think they're not like, they don't know exactly how to respond to certain things, and there's a lot of ums and a lot of pauses, things like that. Which, that's fine. But I mean, I don't know, like, your thoughts.
Yeah, I have that same experience. Like, there's been, I think I've done like over almost 100 interviews at this point, and there's only been like 3 that I didn't publish because they were just so fucking boring. Like, boring as hell. I would have been like, I would have put you guys, it was like an hour long. I didn't get 2 words in edgewise. They just kept talking to themselves the whole time, and they were talking to me, but it was like very much not a good conversation to have. And it just would have been so boring to put out there on the podcast. So there's been 3. I don't want to say
was this early on, or like, because remember we were talking, our last conversation was kind of like, oh, like if you wait till you're ready to start, then you're going to wait too long.
Oh yeah, my first 20 interviews sucked, and it was my fault, not theirs. That was because I sucked, So I feel bad. I always email those guys that I interviewed the first 20 interviews, and I say, what, I think I should do you a favor and have you come back on, because I was terrible then, and the interview or the podcast episode probably didn't go great, and it was totally my fault. So yeah. You do get better at it as you go along, definitely. Like, I'm sure that when you interviewed those guys, the later ones went much better.
They definitely did. And I kind of knew where I wanted the conversation to go, and if I could steer them, there, then great. If not, then okay, that's fine too. But yeah, I mean, I think you also get better on this side too. Once you get asked to say, doing these Q&As on Facebook, I get asked the same question, 50 times a day. You start, you're a fan of Gary Vee, and he has every single answer like this. And now I kind of realize why, because he's asked this question every single day, like 10 different times. You kind of start to think about it a lot more.
Yeah, so I'm sure, like, if you would do a Facebook Live and someone says, hey, Chris, what should I do to get started? You probably know the right answer right away, because you've probably heard that answer 15 times.
What should I do if my employees don't feel motivated? That's an easy one for me, because I've asked it 500 times. And I've written about it.
What is it?
Well, I think everything starts at the top. It starts with ownership, then management, and if your employees aren't feeling empowered or motivated, you need to really think about why. And it kind of starts with you, if you're the decision maker, and figure out how you can maybe change that. I think a lot of it has to do with making them feel empowered, making them feel like they have some sort of say over what they're doing. And I don't think we have to have all the answers as the boss. I think it's super powerful and super helpful if you work for me. I say, well, what do you think about this dish? Like, how might you change it, or what do you think it might get better? And then you give me an answer, and I say, well, why don't you go try that and let me know what you think. And having conversations like that kind of allow you to open up that conversation, make people feel like they're a part of what you're doing. That's the most important thing. Because I mean, if you feel like you're if you feel like you have some sort of say over the end product, then even if you aren't the owner or have some sort of vested stake in the business, you still, I think, end up being a lot more proud of what you're putting out.
Yeah. That was a very much Mike Ganino answer. That was a good one.
Yeah, man.
Did a good job of filling in for
that was the goal, man.
Yeah, that's what we get. Mike's the guy who gets the hiring and training questions. I'm the guy who does the tactics, the email, the Facebook, you want to do some marketing, you want to get some more customers, you call me. You want to have your employees have a good smile on their face,
gotcha.
you call Mike.
So what's the biggest tactical challenge that you find, with people having?
Getting started, like actually getting started with something. They want to implement email marketing, they want to do Facebook marketing, they want to do Twitter, they want to do Instagram, they want to learn Snapchat, but they're so busy in the day-to-day that they don't have the time or the energy to invest in that, or their business is working now and they don't see the need for that. And you don't need Facebook marketing until you need it, and your business is suffering. You won't know you need it until the point where you need it, and then it's too late. And you already missed the boat. There's already going to be people that are ahead of you. So you need to, even if your business is going great now, you don't need to necessarily start implementing, but you need to start learning, because, if you learned Facebook like you did back in 2010, you'd be so much further ahead of people who are just starting to do it.
And not to be a dead horse, but Gary Vee talks a lot about find the dead space, the white space. Maybe you missed the boat on Facebook, and that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. But think about kind of what else is out there that you can start, that people are starting to kind of talk about and get into.
I looked at Snapchat because Gary said a lot about Snapchat, and I wrote an article for PMQ Magazine about Snapchat, and even the people at PMQ Magazine, which is a big publication in the pizza industry, they emailed me and they said, hey, I like your show. I want you to write an article. I said, great, I'll write an article about Snapchat. I already know what I want to write it up. I already wrote it. Here it is. I was going to put it on my blog, but you know what? Hey, you can take it. And they're like, well, what is Snapchat? And I'm like, are you serious? You really don't know what Snapchat is? We're like, you might not need it now, but 18, 24 months from now, like Gary Vee said, that's where it's like what Instagram was 4 years ago. I saw my 18-year-old nieces were using Instagram heavily when they were 14.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And now that's where kind of Snapchat is. So now 14 to 20, that's going to turn into 28 to 30. And like Gary Vee says, then us marketers will ruin everything.
And then it's back to square one. But for me, that's kind of, I started my page at the same time. I don't know if you remember, 5 years ago, there's certain restaurants would start a personal page for the restaurant, where it seemed like oh, that's a good idea because they can't charge me for ads or things like that. But back then nobody really had business pages, especially for a personal brand. So
back in 2010, you could literally buy a like for a penny.
Yeah.
Now it costs $1.
I
say they didn't have everything they did. I still don't have. I don't have a personal Facebook page just out of spite, just because I said it. No, I just don't. I have my wife has a business one. She has a personal one. I have a one that I set up so I could, because I do tons of Facebook ads for my clients and the businesses that I have, but I don't have a personal one. And I know I should get one, and I know everybody keeps asking me, but it's you know what? I'm just not getting one just because. Just out of spite.
And connected like you are. All right. So if I'm opening up a restaurant, a pizza shop, whatever, or maybe I already have it open, and there's a lot of moving parts all the time, right? But I have 30 minutes or an hour a week to devote to marketing in some capacity. I don't have a whole lot of money. What should I do?
You're a local restaurant or pizza shop. I think that you should network with your other local pizza shops. I think that you should get to as many events as you, and it's not all going to be online marketing that's going to do that. Network at local events when it comes to either the school system or the, facilities when it comes to little league or a basketball thing and just kind of get to know the community. And I really think that, if you're starting a local business, I mean, you're starting a business, so you can't say I have no money. And Facebook ads are really cheap to run to get some exposure. And video is what I would do. I would do video because video is much cheaper to build your brand recognition than it would be to have a picture with a click to your website.
Gotcha. So you're saying like a Facebook video or actual just video in general?
I would do a video and then I would upload that to YouTube. I would upload that organically to Facebook, and then I would run ads to that video, because right now I'm running ads for people for video who are getting like 1 penny per view. And a year or two ago, a Facebook view used to be like 3 seconds. If someone saw it for 3 seconds, that was a Facebook view. Now it's like 15 seconds, I think. And what Facebook recently did is they have subtitles now. So you can actually click a button on your video ad and Facebook will review your video and put the subtitles up for you of what it says. So they don't even have to click to hear it, and they'll see what you're saying on the screen. And then that's super cheap. You can probably have 500 views in your local area for like $5. You got to have $5 if you're starting a business. If you don't have $5 and you're starting a business, don't start your business.
Yeah, exactly.
Go save some more money.
And it's kind of like, all right, well, like, what am I spending money on? I think a lot of people starting out opening, I know I did when like we were bootstrapping everything we could, but we still in fact we spent some dumb money on dumb stuff, and we easily could have, this was 2010, I guess. Still, we easily could have spent a couple $100 on social media or just Facebook in general, and gotten a lot of bang for our buck just doing that.
If I had a small advertising budget and I was starting a local business, I would spend all of my money on Facebook ads. I wouldn't spend a percentage of it. I would spend all of it.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I mean,
unless you can, maybe you'll make up menus or something if you're a takeout place. But other than that, I would do all Facebook, because you're going to reach, if you have a few $100s, you're going to reach 10 times more people on Facebook than you would with direct mail or anything else.
No, I definitely, and I mean, the targeting for Facebook's insane. I mean, I can literally, if Facebook wants me to target to my local area in Atlanta, which for me doesn't really make sense because I don't have an actual product or service. But it literally, I mean, I can take my zip code and find people that actually like pizza and target to those people.
Right.
If I'm customers, I can target to 24 to 40-year-olds, whatever it is. It's incredible how localized and how specialized the marketing gets on Facebook.
And I would just make an offer. If I was a local place like this, Australia Wild, how would you track the success of a Facebook campaign for a coffee shop where they need to come into your coffee shop? Simply, I would do a Facebook video with an ad to get a free coffee on, buy 5 coffees, get 1 free. Go to this website, give me your email address, and I'll email it to you. Then you know exactly who has that campaign, how it worked, because they'll have to go to the website, input their email and their name. They're going to get emailed that coupon, and they bring it to the store. And anybody who has that coupon, got it from your website. And then you also have their email address so you can retarget.
Yeah, exactly.
Later.
And keep the conversation going that way.
Yeah. It said, what if the coffee shop didn't have a website? You can literally build a website now for like $50.
Less than that.
Yeah.
I
get something like Lead Pages and get a 1-page website up in 10 minutes.
And then I use like SumoMe to capture email addresses. Yep. They have a free version of that. So, I mean, yeah.
You know what I recently, Chris, this might be a little bit off topic, but it was SumoMe, right? You know how they have that scroll, so you scroll down, the box pops up? Did you know you could input a video into that?
Oh, that's cool. No.
Yeah, so you can literally, so the scroll box will pop up, and it could be a video of you saying, "Hey, this is Chris Hill. Welcome to my website. My new book's coming out next week. You should go check it out."
Yeah, that's very cool.
Give me your email address, and I'll give you a free chapter.
Yeah, that's awesome. And because I mean,
so yeah,
most time with things like that, we've all seen them before. It's kind of like, no, like no thanks, just get me out of here.
Yeah.
I'm here to read this article. I don't want to sign up for anything. But if you actually have, oh, hey there, it's Chris Hill here. Welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Personalized, and hey, there's actually a person here.
Yeah, it's the thing. There's tons of stuff out there like that, and as a small business owner, you're not going to know all that. But that's why you go read listen to our podcast, or go to the website, or go to, like, Social Media Examiner is a good website to go to hear about, Facebook and, social media stuff. But yeah, so that's all that say. We have a lot of people from Australia here today. That's great.
Very nice.
Must have a lot of fans in Australia, Chris.
I have some. I'm not sure if I'm not even sure if my tweet went out, but
all right, so let's get back to your book. So when's it coming out? What can people do to go get a copy of it?
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's next Tuesday is actually when it goes out. If you sign up, or if you buy a copy and send me the receipt, in the next days, I'll email you the audio versions of the conversations plus the ebook version. So yeah, the easiest thing to do is go to makingthecutbook.com, and there you'll have a link to it. You'll see the email address where you can send it and everything. And yeah, or just hit me up on Twitter. You probably see me here at Batch BACH Kitchen, or Bruce, I'm over on Facebook, Chef Chris Hill. Shoot me a private message there too. But yeah, so next Tuesday it comes out, and I'm excited, man. It's been a big work in progress, and ready to rock and roll.
Cool. Somebody said, you want to stick around and answer a couple questions? Anybody have any questions for Chris or myself? We'll hang out here for a few minutes to answer some questions. Okay, later. Oh, I don't know what that means. Most coffee shops don't have websites. Yeah, they don't have websites. You can. Beauty Bubble. You said you can. It is very, very cool. Was that referring to probably the video pop-up of Sumo Me, maybe? Yeah, on Sumo Me. Yeah, she said that. Yeah, I thought that was cool. I saw that. I did that on my website. I don't particularly do a ton of videos for my website. I do more audio and writing, but I thought that was cool that you could do that. And I thought that was a great way for people to, do something different. Makes you stay out a little bit.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So what's up next for you after this book? Now, what are you going to be up to?
Bouncing around the country here, trying to, promote the book, get it in as many people's hands as possible. And then after that, we'll see, man. I'm doing some consulting work, so trying to just connect with people and hang out as much as possible. We're going to be working with a company up in Virginia, some in the kind of near future over the summer or so. Get up there and then kind of bouncing around. Hopefully get up to see you up in Boston too, man.
Yeah, man. Eric's up here too. You got to stop in and say hello to him. All right, Chris, thank you so much for joining me tonight, man. It was awesome. Anybody have any questions for Chris or anybody before we go? We're going to hop out of here. It's almost 9 o'clock. We're going to call it a day. Usually we hang on here till like 9:30, and it's way too late for me. 9 o'clock is pretty much my limit. Does he or you do editorial reviews? Do you do editorial reviews, Chris? Oh, you published your first cookbook. Like review the whole book? Like, yeah, I review books on the podcast. Yeah, I don't know if Chris will review a book, but his phone just died. Ha. All right, he's gonna take off. We'll see you, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you guys all for joining me again for this episode of Live Smart Pizza Marketing Podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Next week we'll be back with Mike Ganino, and next week's episode we are talking all about training. We did our episode about hiring a few weeks back. But next week we are going to be doing the training episode. We did hiring / training, but we never got to the training part. So we're going to get into that. Mike's going to come up with some great stuff for the next week's show. So don't miss that. Also, if you want to, while you're here, before you leave, go subscribe to the show for next week. It's already live over there. So all you have to do is hit the subscribe button, and it'll notify you when we do go live next Monday night at 8 o'clock. So that's it for me. If anybody wants to ask a question, otherwise I am going to go. Thank you guys so much. Thanks to Chris. I know his phone died. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thanks, fine folk. Appreciate you coming on every week. Awesome. Thanks, Dale. Ciao. See ya. Everybody else, Leo. See you guys. Mia Marcos. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying Beauty Bubble. That's a great show. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm going to stop the recording.